guys, this is Lord Chael speaking on behalf of our show sponsor, Established Titles. Established Titles is a project based on a Scottish custom where landowners are referred to as lords and ladies. They allow you to buy as little as 1 square foot of dedicated land so you can officially call yourself a lord or a lady. Established Titles is not just about your ego. You also get to do some good. In addition to your new fancy title, Established Titles supports global charities like One Tree Planet and Trees for the Future to help with the afforestation effort. Your title pack gets you at least 1 square foot of dedicated land in a private estate in Scotland. Your certificate features a unique plot number where you can see the exact location of your land. And right now, Established Titles is holding 200 plots of land right next to mine. So come join me in the Bad Guy Inc. Kingdom. Getting this certificate even allows you to officially change your name to Lord or Lady. Put it on your credit card, put it on your plane tickets, or if you're so inclined, put it on your dating profile. Makes for a great last-minute gift, and there's even couples packs that come with adjoining plots of land. Established Titles is having a great limited-time sale. Go to establishedtitles.com/Chael to save 10% off today. Remember to use the promo code Chael, or just click on the link below. Jake Paul versus Andrew Tate, guys. What do you think? Where do you go with that? I really want to hear from you. Like, is that thumbs up? Let's do it on a scale of 1 to 10. If you leave me comments, let's do it on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 means yes, absolutely can't wait to see the fight. Where are you? And it's very interesting what we like, isn't it? And we know that about ourselves. We know how important timing is. Mike Tyson versus Evander Holyfield, just for a simple example, but we counted down the days. Oh my goodness, we couldn't wait. This took over the media, this took over the news. If you're a fight fan, you could barely sleep that entire week. But if we were to put Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield in there right now, you likely wouldn't even watch it. Simple example, just to prove how important timing is, and Jake's in an interesting spot. Jake has proven how good he is. That's a bit of a problem. A lot of this experiment with Jake in terms of getting the attraction is to watch him get beat. And that's becoming slimmer and slimmer pickings. The same guys that you wanted to see fight Jake, the same ones you thought you could sell at Madison Square Garden, all of a sudden you're not quite as interested. You're not quite as interested because you're not quite as sure that they can beat Jake. So it's just one of these spots. Then you have a really massive fight. Really big deal fight that people would want to see. It can be very helpful to slip those in on a card in a co-spot. There's some fights that are co-main events. The night that Roy Jones fought Mike Tyson, they did 1.7 million. Now, there was a lot of reasons why 1.7 million buys. In the world of pay-per-view model is not what you know is the pay-per-view model. But even the pay-per-view model that you did know, if you could do 1 million, you could walk into the room with fellow producers and hold your head really high. 1.7 is just a monster number. But there was a lot of reasons and a lot of things that went into that. And it wasn't just the comeback of Mike Tyson. It wasn't people who are yearning to see Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones. It might have had very little to do with Roy Jones. There was definitely something special about Tyson returning, for sure. And then there was rumors that, he's going to get this one out of the way. He's going to get back in there with Evander. That's before what we learned where Evander's physical prowess was at. I'm just sharing with you, it was a little bit of a different time, but I've never been sold that it was Mike versus Roy. I've never been sold on that. I think that Jake Paul versus the slam dunk champion was very meaningful. And I'll tell you, for me, it was. Had nothing to do with fighting, had nothing to do with pugilism. There was something there. There was something interesting about these two good athletes and celebrities willing to risk public humiliation in a non-feature match. I believe Frank Mir, in fact, even fought after Jake Paul did that night. I mean, when I tell you it wasn't a feature match, not only was it not a main, I'm off of my memory, but he wasn't even a co-main. I think it was very helpful. I think other people agree with me. They're not sure who to sign that 1.7 to. There's a reason Roy hasn't been back. There's a reason Mike hasn't been back. So somebody in decision-making and an analytics role isn't sure that they're the ones that drew that. I'm just sharing with you, there are some fights, as great as they are, they're a supporting act. Now, Paul versus Tate, that's the fight. A number of months ago, that was the fight, for sure. Very interesting. Tate did not need that fight. Tate had a lot of things going on. Somewhere in between, Tate, they call it getting canceled. They stopped him on social media, like from YouTube and TikTok. They call it getting canceled. But I see him out there a lot. I saw him on Piers Morgan, just by example. I checked the number, they 6.1 million. I mean, he's still getting his message out, but perhaps this kind of an opportunity is now more intriguing to him. Now, when you have Jake, he is telling us that he wants to be a boxer. But he's going to go and fight a former kickboxer. It's awesome. It's entertaining. It's exciting. But it's hard to serve that, hey, I want to be a boxer when I'm going and doing this, right? I mean, I'm not giving this a hard time. I'm really not. I'm trying to think out loud. And I'm trying to share with you guys. I don't know of a more appropriate match. I don't know of one. It's very interesting, and there's a lot to risk. It's also not the same thing as it was when Andrew Tate first called for this. Andrew Tate went on social media, looked cool, he's got the glasses, he's doing the whole bit, he's got the Bugatti in the background. He offered $3 million, if I remember correctly. Offered Paul $3 million. Hey, I'm not as rich as you, I can't do it, but I'll give you $3 million if you beat me. Not to fight me, if you beat me. Andrew Tate was very sincere in his aggravation with Paul. And what it was at that time was, you're making a mockery of a sport that I love. You're taking opportunity and placement and headlines from guys that are in the gym and sacrificing, and you don't deserve it. Tate has actually come back and said, I had that wrong. You're not making a mockery. You're damn good. I will still fight you, and I can still beat you. But I won't tease you and I won't put you down. I'm changing some of the words, but this was Tate's message. And I thought that might have wrapped it up. And Tate, being a 4-time champion, he's in great shape. He still spars. He trains all the time, right? It's one of these things where you would think on paper, and you'd be right to think so, Tate will beat him badly. You would be right to think that, which at one point would encourage you to want to see it more. Now we're confronted with the fact Jake's not going away so easy. Not for anybody. Not for a 4-time world champion, not for anybody. It's one of these situations. And Jake has his ego too. The boxing community is resisting him at every turn. And this is the same community that screwed him. This is the same community that gives him terrible advice, set him up for failure, signed a contract with not one but two of their own, and they both pulled out. At some point, he's got to let that community know, I'm not doing it your way. I'm not listening to you. I'm going to take the feature bouts. I'm going to take your spot on SportsCenter. I'm going to sell out an arena. But I'm going to show a respect to my business before I show it to your sport. At some point, every conversation between two men, when you just don't get it right, at some point it comes down to F you. Right there. That's where we're going to end this. F you, I mean, that's the way that it goes. Is Jake at that point? Is he pissed off? Is he fed up? I would not blame him. He needs to be damn sure that he has somebody that's going to make that walk. It's a tough spot from a business perspective. I can't imagine what Rahman Jr. and Fury, I can't even imagine doing that to another guy, no matter how much I didn't like the other guy. You come after a guy, it's one thing. You try to be a better pugilist, it's another thing. You take a guy's livelihood, you're talking about, this is a whole nother game. I could not imagine agreeing to have somebody go to work and pulling the rug out like those guys did. Now, I wouldn't imagine Tate would do that. I would imagine that we've got a fight on our hands. I would imagine this is very interesting. I would imagine the build-up and the back and forth is going to be something special. I would just encourage people involved to be open. Be very open. People that promote cards and put them on don't put themselves in co-main event spots. It doesn't happen. But every now and then you have a fight that is a wonderful fight, that's a really big attraction. and the placement, who goes on the card and when and where. I mean, these things all have to be looked at. I was very surprised to see Paul and Tate come face to face. I was very surprised. I was very surprised that Tate was in America and had agreed to do this and did the face-off. They're telling us something isn't done. I'll also tell you I was surprised because it was Logan who 2 weeks ago went on a massive platform and aired his grievance with Andrew Tate. It was Logan that wanted that match. So there's a few moving parts here. I'm not ready to tell you these guys are going to fight. I'm not ready to announce that. I'm just not certain with the way that this was done that that's precisely what this means, but I think that it's looking in that direction. And I just think that that spills into more interesting talk. We were convinced, we told ourselves and we told everybody else that Nate Diaz is getting out of his UFC contract because he's going to go and fight Paul. We're told that Francis is going to go make up a sport and do it with Tyson Fury, who just came out of retirement and signed to fight somebody else. I mean, I'm just sharing for you. We got to be careful with what we think we know. What's that old expression? When you assume, you make an ass out of you and me, but there's a lot of truth to it. And we do get these wrong a lot. And I think that it's an interesting matchup. And I think the timing for this is a little bit different now than it once was. I don't have a better idea. And not everything the day that you sign it or the day you make an announcement is done. Drop it in your lap, just set the date. It's not like that. Sometimes you got to work for it. Sometimes you got to bring in the bells and whistles. You've got to tell the story. I think if anybody can do it, it's these two. But I'm not convinced that we have a fight announcement. I'm not convinced that Jake Paul's going to box Andrew Tate.